You're listening to the Mind Your Business podcast, episode number 66. Today, we're talking all about random acts of kindness. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and I've built a 7-figure internet business that offers the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want. And I'm the first to say that hard work and hustle are not essential ingredients for your success. So, how do you build a thriving business from the inside out? This is the Mind Your Business podcast, featuring myself and co-host Phoebe Mroczek. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm James Wedmore.
And I'm Phoebe Mroczek.
And where have you been?
Where have you been?
Where have we been?
Very busy.
I blame Phoebe for all of it.
It's always my fault.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
It has, and we've gotten so many comments, and I've seen in Facebook groups and emails, people asking where we've been.
In fact, I just got an email from one of our listeners today. I get at least one email, Instagram comment, blog post comment, Facebook. I mean, people are finding us everywhere. I saw a carrier pigeon. There were smoke signals on the hill. They're like, where's the podcast? This is an email that came in from one of our listeners, Shauna Ritter, today that I got that says, "Hi, James. I couldn't find any other way to contact you, but I wanted to reach out to you and Phoebe and tell you how much the podcast has impacted me and how much I love it. It looks like you haven't added any new episodes since November 7th, and I anxiously check each day to see if there are any new ones." I think that email right there kicked my butt back into gear to say, okay, it's time to get back in to the recording booth. Isn't that nice? And she goes on with this long, amazing email. So thank you, Shauna or Shayna. Thank you, all of our listeners. Thank you, everyone who's reached out, even in the slightest, saying, where the heck have you guys been? I think we owe you a bit of an explanation.
Definitely. Well, I think it's just really nice because we always talk about how there isn't as much of a feedback loop with podcasting because we just put all these podcasts out and we don't know, other than download numbers and comments in Facebook groups and stuff like that, you know, if people like it, if they're not liking it. And I feel like the last couple of weeks have showed me that people actually care and they're listening and they notice when we don't put anything out. So I appreciate everyone reaching out to kind of keep us accountable. Yeah. It's really nice, actually.
Yeah. And we've seen the numbers grow. You know, we check the stats and you just see them going bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we stopped. And I want to share, at least from my perspective, why I stopped. My experience is that, especially doing 2 episodes a week, that you kind of put your heart and soul into something, and then before you know it, 7 days later, 5 days later, it's like time to record another episode. And I found it, I don't know about you, Phoebe, where because we weren't as intentional, the first half of the year we were very intentional. Second half of the year, we didn't do anything to batch a bunch of episodes. So we were kind of playing this catch up. So it turned from this inspirational, joyous activity to, crap, I got to get an episode out. And I've been doing this long enough that the moment that happened, I said, stop. Because that's just a slippery slope, especially when the kind of content we're creating, we really want it to be, you know, in divine right timing and inspirational and impactful and, you know, come from a place of meaning and richness and our own learning experience. And when it starts to even feel like an inkling of a chore, I like to reevaluate. And so what we want to let you know is we have a special episode in store for you that is one that we probably would have recorded a month ago had we had, you know, pressed the record button. So we'll share it with you and we'll get to that in a moment. But I want to let our listeners know what we have in store for 2017 and beyond. And really, this is what I'm calling our wind up. 2016 in this podcast was our experiment. This is something I teach. This is a philosophy that I really want to, you know, impart on all of you, is that stop waiting for it to be perfect and then launch. Stop waiting for all your ducks in a row and everything to connect and be there. We like to look for the MVP, the minimum viable project. What is the least amount we can do without sacrificing integrity and quality and the user experience? But in the other aspects, things like our website, we just threw together probably the ugliest website you could do, you know, for this podcast. We didn't do anything fancy and we barely promoted it. That's the craziest thing, is that we got a ton of subscribers, a ton of reviews, and a massive amount of downloads in the 10, 11 months we've been doing this with very little promotional effort. So now we're in this wind-up phase. Now we've done a year of testing it in the marketplace, and then testing it with us. Like, did we love doing this? The answer is yes, at least for me. I'm sure Phoebe will say yes as well. And now it's time to be like, what would this look like if we took it up a notch or 10 notches? And that's what I'm excited about for next year. How about you, Phoebe?
I'm so, we always laugh that my phrase is always, I'm so excited. But I think for me, it was taking that step back to really evaluate and ask ourselves the hard questions. Is this fun? Yes. Does this feel heavy or light? And light. And when it felt heavy, taking that step back just to kind of debrief on what has happened and looking forward, what do we want to create from this? And so I think that it's just been a really good couple of weeks because we see that A, people love it, and B, that we really enjoy it. So what are we going to do moving forward? I cannot wait for next year. And just the momentum that we're getting in this wind-up phase is just really exciting. It's inspiring to me, and getting all these comments and hearing what people want from us. I think that we've really opened the dialogue now with our listeners, which is so exciting because now they can tell us what they want and we can deliver. So I can't wait for what we have in store for them.
So the first thing is we both have been making a list of topic ideas. And I want to take you further down the rabbit hole. The more I check in with people, the more I truly believe that more and more people are ready to hear the types of messages that we're bringing up here. And the more we're seeing ourselves, like I get chills just hearing it, as being kind of this gateway drug to this, inner world. We are kind of this bridge. Like, we're not the expert yogi, spiritual guru that's been doing this for 40 years. It's like I've been playing around with this for 5 or so years, and I kind of want to introduce you to that world and kind of bridge the gap, here's the reality and the logical world that you've been existing in, the mechanical world, and meet, this spiritual, deeper world. And so we've created a laundry list. That's not the right list. A wish list, there you go, of topics. A lot of these topics, I want to take you deeper down the rabbit hole, not just in the realm of spirituality and manifesting, but also on like the neuroscience and, hacking side of, hacking your brain and creating flow states and all that stuff. Anything that's going to help us perform better, anything that's going to make us feel happier, anything that's going to make us feel more alive, we want to bring that to you. And we also have a list of incredible experts that we want to bring on. And I know that when it comes to something like this, I'm just going to be relentless and won't take no for an answer to get some of these people on. So there's a lot of that coming in store. We have a brand new website coming out shortly as well. And I know I'm going to convince Phoebe to fly down to Laguna, and we'll do a few days of recording batch episodes, just like lock ourselves in a room and record a ton of content so we can really create some magic for you guys. So that's all coming 2017 on the Mind Your Business podcast. Again, we can't express enough our gratitude. Really, really can't express enough. Speaking of gratitude, it kind of relates to what we are talking about on today's episode. And I want to start with a great quote I found on the topic. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what you have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, and a stranger into a friend. That's gratitude. We've talked about gratitude in the past. Gratitude is a state of being. It's a feeling. It's not just a word in the dictionary, a concept to be learned and memorized, but an actual state that you can have. It's an actual frequency that you can resonate on. And I truly believe that it is the frequency of gratitude that just unlocks more in your life, which is backwards to what we've been taught. It's backwards to the logic that we believe, because most people say, I will be happy when, I will be grateful when. And they're hoping that by being in a state of unsatisfied, not happy yet, that will drive them to get the thing that they're after. And the problem with that is that as soon as you do get that, it might drive you to get that thing that you've wanted. But then you'll find that that thing doesn't make you happy. And it's now not enough. And you continue seeking the next thing and the next thing. And so speaking of gratitude, where you start with gratitude for wherever you're at right now, it can start to unlock more. It's like, oh, you want to be grateful? You are grateful? You want more reasons to be grateful in your life? Here you go, right? We held our Inner Circle Mastermind, what was it, like a month ago now?
Yeah, about a month.
In Charleston, South Carolina. Did I do that right?
No.
Okay, you go.
But almost.
You go.
Charleston, South Carolina. That was way better than yours.
See, I want to do more of a Savannah accent.
Oh, all right.
It's more like molasses dripping off the tip of your tongue. All right. Ridiculous. Redonkulous. So we're at the mastermind, and on the opening ceremonies, if you will, Phoebe really inspired me to, well, it was your idea, to have a conversation around this concept of RACs, or random acts of kindness. And it was something that, you know, you realize, boy, there's a lot of pressure, like running a mastermind, that you are someone that people look up to. And for me personally, especially being an introvert, like the whole like charity and giving aspect, the philanthropic aspect of my life, I've always kind of kept very private because, I don't know, it just sounds weird. It's just kind of like I don't want to do it to like, look at me. But when you realize that you're in a room where you can influence people who want to model you, I think it's actually of benefit to kind of communicate that, if this makes sense where I'm going. And so we started the mastermind out by defining and sharing a random act of kindness, and then asking people, inviting others to partake in this. Not required. It has to come from a desire of just, that's it. It's just a desire to do it. But really the theme there, the lesson there of, we'll get into some of these in a moment, was I look in this room of people, extraordinary entrepreneurs, and I said, sometimes we take for granted where we're at and what we've done and where we've gotten. And we come into a room like this with our next big problem, our next breakdown that we're struggling with. And I don't think we realize at times, all the time, sometimes we do, how lucky we are. And I want to spread that message to anybody who's listening to this podcast, even if you don't agree right now, because there's so many levels of proof of this. First of all, if you're listening, chances are, maybe, not 100%, but chances are you are an entrepreneur or a business owner. And that in itself is something to be really grateful for, because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the things that you are doing, for most of you, myself included, couldn't happen. The technology, the barrier of entry, all of that was just not available to us. But another thing that you want to think about is that there are people, a vast majority of people, that don't even know that the type of stuff we do is possible. Still, there are still people to this day in 2016, end of 2016, who will come to Phoebe or myself and say, wait, what do you do? Mm-hmm. Wait, that's a thing? You can do that? Even if you haven't gotten to that level yet, you at least know about it. What about the person that's in a job that they're miserable with and they don't even know that they can build a business that lights them up, fuels their passion, and actually is a source of joy for them?
I have this conversation every time, like I just went home for Thanksgiving to see my family, and it just puts things so much in perspective. For me, we were watching some divorce court or something like that, and I just remember I was talking to my sister. I'm like, I can't believe people like this exist. They're, they used to be in love, and now they're fighting over couches. And then she's like, Phoebe, these are the people I deal with all the time. Yeah. Like, you are just in this bubble of happy, successful people that you forget that there are a lot of unhappy, unsuccessful people.
The majority of people.
Right. And I am so much in that bubble. And it's funny, I actually, sometime this week, I don't know if it was Wednesday, but I was sitting outside 6:30 in the morning and I decided to do my gratitude list. And this is something I love to encourage people to do. And you just make a list of 50 things that you're grateful for, and then really like study the last 10, the 40 to 50, because that is where you really get down to it. Because it is kind of, at the beginning, you're like, I'm grateful for my friends and for my business and for blah, 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 blah. But then when you get down to like 40 to 50, you start to realize, it puts so many things in perspective. Like, I'm grateful that I have all my limbs. I'm grateful that I can breathe. I'm grateful,
Yes.
that I have a warm shelter, that I have heat. It's really incredible to go through and do that. And it puts so much in perspective. So I love that exercise. And I love this idea of like, we really, truly don't. Well, a lot of times, or especially for me, most of the time, I forget how lucky I am to even know about anything we do.
We all do, because the thing that we're striving for, then one day we get it, and that becomes the norm. Mm-hmm. And then again, we go into this like, that's the entrepreneur curse. They're always, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that do it because they want to prove that they can do it, and then they go, I did it. What else can I do? And we're asking you to pause for a moment. I think it's also a perfect time of the year to pause, to reflect before we start jumping into what are all the big things you want to do next year, is to have some gratitude. So I shared a story at the mastermind. It actually brought me to tears. Damn it, I tried to go the whole year without crying. I definitely choked up at this last one. And so I'll share it with you, is that my wife, Chelsea, our dog passed away at the beginning of this year. He's a pit bull. And, my wife always, harps on the general consensus, the general collective consciousness of people, because the term or the breed pit bull just gets a bad rap. I laughed at it at first, and then you see it everywhere. I mean, there are places that won't rent. They say no pit bulls. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And when anybody who is a pit bull owner or knows someone who owns a pit bull, it's just the name sounds like a pit and a bull put together. Just sounds like the worst breed of dog ever, and it's so not the case. So he was old. He passed away this year. And so my wife has been following a couple of accounts on Instagram that are pit bull owners. And one that she follows is a woman who has a farm, and she fosters pit bulls. She just, she gets so much joy from just watching these pit bulls being raised. They're rescued pit bulls. In one of the posts, while we were traveling, in November, late October, one of the posts, she said something about how her GoPro broke. And she uses the GoPro to strap on the dogs, and they run around the field, and she makes these great little videos with them and then puts them on Instagram. And she just turns to me and she's like, James, their GoPro broke. Do you think we could get him a new one? And I just was like, absolutely. And we messaged them. And, at first she was just like, what? No. No, that's too much money. Those are expensive. And it was just we wanted to do it so badly, and, with a click of a button, boom, what's your address? Okay, boom. And it's sent. And there's something about that, I've been doing this a long time, and you get to know a lot of people who want to start a business, who are starting a business, they're in the startup phase, they're in the struggle phase, and they're so focused on this, what we can call survival mindset. I gotta get mine, I gotta get what I gotta get. And if we could skip that and get right to what fuels and drives me, I think we would just get rid of all of suffering and struggle in building a business. Is that nothing motivates me more that I have the ability to do that. It doesn't mean I'm just tomorrow giving away all my money, but that you can do things like that. That to me is real power and impact and influence, is that it was like buying a gumball for somebody. You know what I mean? That you can just be absolutely, and give that to somebody. And for me, it was such a, Chelsea was just so happy that we got to do that. This woman was blown away. And obviously it feels good. The selfish reason is it feels good. It really does. And I want to encourage all of us to be doing that. And that's what this episode is. One very specific intention is to inspire all of you to create a random act of kindness. And the real secret here is you go, well, I can't afford, I'm not going to spend $500 on, I don't have that type of money. And that's where like the big fallacy is that, you know, unlocking this frequency of gratitude is being able to say that no matter where you're at in your life or in your business, that you always have something that you can give. And I think the more that we do that, the more we stay out of this survival mode and step into thriving. And there's so many countless stories of people that will tell that story. You know, I think Tony Robbins talks about that. Like when he had no money to give, he gave the last of his money away. When he was like flat broke. I'm not saying do that, but you can always give something. So yeah, that was a story I shared at the mastermind. And then I invited others that said, while we're here, to do a random act of kindness over the next 2.5 days. And some of them that did. And we gave them some ideas. And I think, in a minute, we'll give our listeners some ideas too.
Mm-hmm. I loved that, you know, when you and I had talked about it, we're like, why don't we invite them to do that? And just to see what they came up with it was really inspiring, and it pulls everyone together. I have this, one of my, you know, I always talk about my affirmations or my mantras, and one of them is the more I give, the more I grow. And I always like, that is something, because, you know, the fact that you bought them a GoPro has nothing to do with the amount of money that you spent on it. You know, it was just the actual act of giving someone something that they really would appreciate and cherish.
Yeah.
So that, you know, because you gave, you grew a little bit. I really like that, you know, the more I give people in just even my neighborhood, I'm not as concerned with, well, what can I buy them? It's like, how can I show them that I care? And I hope that that's going to then inspire people, because it really is not part of the norm these days, which is really unfortunate. I was walking today. There's like a little Christmas like festival by one of the schools. And this girl was like trying to carry all this stuff and this drum and a guitar. And I was like, let me help you with that. And she's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry. I was like, why? It's not, you know, I'm walking that way anyway. It's not a big deal. And she was just so blown away. And I'm like, you know, part of me, obviously that makes me feel happy, but then I'm like, that's kind of sad that we can't really accept help from other people sometimes because we're just so not used to it. I think injecting more generosity into, you know, our daily lives, that's kind of what we're getting at here. And it really is, you know, it's a selfish thing because it makes you feel so great, but it's just the little things, you know, and I don't want to get into it, but it's, we'll give them a list of things that, you know, just some ideas, but you know, I would love to hear from everyone else, like what ideas come from this episode.
Or what you did.
Exactly.
Like if you do something, anything, I mean, we'd love to hear from you. Just like leave a comment under the episode, because I think it'll inspire more people. And I think it's just like the perfect time of the year to do it anyways. Yep. So what I pledged to the group, I said, before the end of this weekend, I am going to anonymously pay for someone's groceries. And so that was fun. Basically, we went to a supermarket in Charleston, and I just went to the manager, and I bought like a $150 gift card, and then I hand the manager the gift card, and then I walked around the store to look for my victim, you know, who I was going to choose. And we found 2 people. And they were both moms, by the way, that like had little kids like running around, and they were like buying a bunch of stuff. And then we told the manager. And so then the manager just like went right up, when they were in line, went right up and just like swiped it and said, your groceries have been taken care of today. And we thought that was really cool. We kept it all anonymous, so we didn't exactly like see it go down. We were kind of like outside watching from afar as they came out and stuff. But we just thought that was really cool. That was something, and that's, I think, a awesome thing to do. Let's get into a list of other ones, because what we did is when I told that story, a lot of the members started doing stuff themselves. Mm-hmm. One of the things that they did that was like so basic and so easy was they just started leaving like crazy, ridiculous tips on like bar tabs and stuff, like at the restaurants and the bar and stuff like that. And I love that. I remember, I hope Rick doesn't mind me sharing this, but Rick left a really big, he like got like one drink and then just left like a huge tip, which, you know, was probably pretty cool for the person receiving that. So that's one thing that you can do. What else?
I like the idea of, even if you can't pay for people's groceries, to help them load their car, especially with like moms or elderly people who are having trouble, or, not even, or someone of service if they're, in the army, or anyone, or just, your everyday Joe. But helping them load their groceries into their car or into their Uber or whatever that looks like is a really nice way to help them out.
I am my love language is gifts. So I love giving gifts, especially. And so I'm a big fan of doing that for, because you can do this for a complete stranger, or you could do it for someone in your life. And so either way, both, it's great. And so I'm always giving gifts. Like, we're doing it with anybody in our immediate sphere, anybody who has helped me at all on my journey. Like, chances are they get a gift, on their doorstep or something. One example, there's a website called Man Crates. Have you heard of this before?
No.
This is awesome. So mancrates.com, I'm pretty sure, is the website. And my neighbor, I put this on Snapchat when it happened, was redoing the front of his house. And he let me ride the Bobcat, which is those earth mover machines, with like the big forklift arm thing in front of it. And I got to drive it around and like pick up dirt and dig holes in his front. I mean, it was just like, yes, like I've always wanted to do that my whole life. So it was like a bucket list item. And so like, I was so grateful that he let me do it, because, most people would be like freaked out and, think there's going to be a lawsuit or something if something goes wrong, and they just say no. But he let me do this, no worries. So I sent him a Man Crate, and it is a website that will package gifts for guys. And it literally comes in a wooden crate, and you get a crowbar, and he has to crowbar it open, like rip this thing apart. And then you can do anything, like man's shaving kit. I think I got him a whole barbecue set with like different barbecue sauces and like tools. I mean, it's so cool. And it's like the whole experience of that. And there's so many neat ways that you can give gifts. In fact, I just got an app on my phone, which perfect as well for the holiday season. Hint, hint, anybody starting your holiday shopping. The app is called Gift-A-Gram. And have you heard of this?
Yep.
Okay, it's so neat, because what is the biggest pain in the butt with sending gifts is like, what's your address? And like they get it to you the next day, and then you got to type it in. Okay, what this is just a list of gifts. You select the gift, and then you say, who would you like to send it to? And it finds the person in your address book on your phone, and then sends them a text message asking them to fill out the details. So if I was sending Phoebe a gift, she'd get a text message that says, James would like to send you a gift. Click the link below so we know where to ship the gift. And that's it. I mean, it's so great, right? So it makes gift giving easy, and they've got, really inexpensive gifts all the way to like crazy expensive stuff. So gifts, gift giving, I mean, that's even just giving away, donating, like that stuff's always a big one for me.
Real quick on the Gift-A-Gram, that was like my business idea. I was like really excited about it a couple of years ago, and then I looked into it and found Gift-A-Gram. I was like, someone stole my business idea. But
you could have always just marketed it better, because I just heard about it today.
No, I should have. Maybe I will. That's in 2017.
Yeah.
My love language is also gift giving, but I have started a process of writing handwritten notes and sending those. And so I committed to doing one a day, and that lasted about a week and a half. And then now I'm really making an effort, and it's my commitment for 2017 to write one a week. It's so funny. I just had a girl reach out to me and was like, thank you for my thank you note. And I was like, that's so nice. Like, it's just such a nice way, because especially right now, like we just send so many emails and everything feels so impersonal. And so when I carefully selected this one card that I really wanted her to have, it had sentimental value, and then sent it to her with a really nice handwritten, message to her. So if you can't afford gifts, send a handwritten note.
Seriously. I mean, and it's a gift. That is a gift. It's giving them something that I think definitely has meaning for people. Even anything, guys, like a smile, a how you doing? You know what I mean? Just like passing on joy, happiness, and gratitude to a complete stranger on the street, I think can go miles. Like I always look for the person who's in the service industry, not necessarily a restaurant, but like, at like a food court or whatever, and they're kind of been slammed and they're busy and like people don't have any patience, like you can be the pattern interrupt to like put a smile on their day. Anything. I mean, yeah. So that's one.
Another one is something that I'm going to commit to for December at some point, which is visiting people and spending time with people either in a nursing home or a hospital. And I got this idea actually from Hal Elrod, and he was talking all about how, there's so many people that are unsupported and just not cared for as much as we are in our lives. And so reaching out to those people and just spending some time, I just feel like is something that I personally don't do enough. So that's something that I'm committing to. So I will be visiting people either in a nursing home or a hospital.
Yeah, I love it. Compliments, saying nice things, anything here. I mean, I struggle with this. And I've learned this when I talk about the whole Myers-Briggs personality types. This is part of my personality type, which is very fascinating to me. So now that you have the awareness of it, you try and do something about it. I'm traditionally not very good with compliments because my personality type is always coming from a place of like questioning whether anyone else's compliments are truly genuine. Does that make sense?
That's interesting.
It's a bizarre thing, and I've read it in every Myers-Briggs book or article I've ever read about my type, is that introverts mostly, it says like they don't give a lot of compliments, and because they get wary if someone gives them a lot of compliments, because it's like, uh-oh, someone's buttering up to me, like this isn't genuine, what do they want, right? And so they also tend to not over-compliment, or sometimes not compliment at all, because they don't want others to think that it's not genuine. Fascinating. So that's a big one for me, is to say, well, that's just my stuff, and that's not the case. If we might be, our love language might be gifts, but others, it's going to be words of affirmation. And so they need that. They need those compliments. They need the acknowledgement and stuff like that. So a very important one.
That is so funny. I pass out compliments like candy. I'm always like, wow, I love your lipstick. Ooh, nail color.
Girl stuff. Yep. Girl stuff.
Exactly. So especially around the holidays, there are so many opportunities for things like adopting a family. There's another program that I really love called Heifer International. You can actually gift someone like chickens in a field. Someone in Africa has a chicken coop and they need money for chickens. And so you can actually gift those as part of, a Christmas present or something. So adopting families, donating to charity, something around the holidays, especially, this is why this episode is so perfect, but having, really looking into what means a lot to you and not just giving, not just adopting a family just to do it, but really, getting into it and making that experience the best for them. Because again, the more you give, the more you grow.
And then lastly, before we just encourage you to get creative and think of something unique and special and meaningful to you, one thing that I'm going to do as soon as our launch finishes up, so like the middle of December, I'm going to be doing this, I'm really excited about, is going to Toys R Us. And hopefully I'm going to film it. So I'm hopefully going to have a videographer there with me. And we're going to do like a crazy shopping spree at Toys R Us. And then just like donate massive amounts of gifts to Toys for Tots. I've always wanted to do that for Christmas. I love toys myself. I mean, when I was a kid, like that's when people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would say a toy maker. Okay. And I love kids and I love Christmas. So that's my big thing that I want to do. And so hopefully if it all works out, we'll have it videotaped and we'll make a really cool video and I'll be able to put that out and share with you guys. But yeah, I think ultimately this is an episode, a call to arms for, step one, acknowledging and realizing no matter where you're at on your journey, you're on a journey. And there should be gratitude for that we don't really, I'm speaking for everybody here, so I apologize, but we don't really know how lucky we are. And I think it's time to recognize that no matter where you're at, there's someone that doesn't even know that what you're doing is even a possibility in their life. And that, just what we do and what we can do and what we're creating gives us such an extraordinary life that the majority of people don't even get anything nearly remotely close to that. Remotely. And that's huge. And I think if I can even just motivate you to do a random act of kindness, it's really that when we can demonstrate and step into gratitude and giving like that, I think it's just going to continue to come in for you. I think you're just going to continue to have an experience of a more fuller and richer life. And it's fun. And, so the example of donating a camera to a woman that fosters dogs is just like small, like simple, bizarre thing. But it so inspired me to talk about it, share it at our mastermind, and to share it here. And now we're just like hoping that doing a whole episode on this, that it will have a trickle effect or a ripple effect. I don't know which analogy to use there, a ripple effect, but that it will inspire others. And that when you realize that if you're like most of our listeners, you probably have an audience of your own, you have an influence of your own, that you can then share that story with your audience and cause that ripple effect. And on it goes is pretty exciting.
Well, and I think that one thing I do want to mention at the end is just that, we hear these people like, Tony Robbins, who's feeding millions and all this, and it always seems so big and grandiose. And, this expression of gratitude or, of generosity is always just so large and goes to a larger audience. And it really just it comes back to one person. And how can you change one person's just outlook or, not even their life, like not even that big, just how can you, lighten their day? How can you brighten their day? And I think that if you just come from a place of changing one person or making one person happy every day, that's an amazing commitment. And maybe I'll try that on for 2017, just really making an effort to brighten someone's day every day, whatever that looks like. And it starts with one person.
I love it. I love it. So we hope that you will take this on. We hope that you will play full out with us, no matter what level you're at or what you think you can do. And if you do decide to do it, share it with us, whether you find a way to email us, leave a comment on our blog, or reach out to us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear how it worked and what you did. Yeah, we just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience during our absence. We're coming back, folks. We're coming back, so stay tuned. We've got more extraordinary episodes and conversations coming your way. For now, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, truly. We will see you on the next episode. Take care.